Hey everyone, it's me, John here. We're doing a bit of a different BrainScratch Searchlight update. The case I originally covered was actually on the regular BrainScratch show, and that is the case of Madeleine McCann. And it was covered on the original BrainScratch show because back then we didn't have Searchlight. It was before we had split off the missing persons cases into Searchlight cases. Madeleine McCann would certainly qualify, from my perspective, as a Searchlight case, so that's why this Searchlight update is dedicated to Madeleine. And we are coming up now on, unfortunately, the 10-year anniversary of her disappearance. And if you're unfamiliar with the case, know that in the description box below, I will have a link to the BrainScratch on it. There is tons of media on this that you could look through as well. And what I really wanted to do for today's episode was review a lot of current news that is kicking around. With the 10-year anniversary, of course, there is a lot of people kind of scratching for attention. But I have to be honest with you guys, I'm not feeling real great about the information I'm running into. I'm kind of upset, and I'm really upset because I feel like there seems to be a lot of people that are trying to capitalize on this case. We've got several people who are quite typically they're former law enforcement that are now trying to turn themselves into authors and writing about this case. If you know about Gonzalo Amaral, who was originally the lead investigator on the case, he did write a book. The family sued him, won that suit, but now that's been overturned. There's been a lot of back and forth, but what bothers me is the motivation. I don't really understand what people are doing around this case. It really seems to me like there is a bit of a insensitive money grab happening around that. And do know that there's a big split in terms of people's belief about what's going on in this case. There are a large group of people that think that Madeleine's parents had something to do with her disappearance. And no doubt, I think even on this BrainScratch I made, which was almost 2 years ago now, by the end of the video, I really don't have enough information to determine if they were involved or not directly with her disappearance, but I certainly do criticize how they were acting, being in a different country and leaving their children alone, supposedly to sleep in their room while they went off to a bar with their friends. Admittedly, it's a bar that is in the resort. It was a matter of steps away from their room, but any kind of distance like that, I think it's unacceptable. And I do think that they should be held accountable for some element of neglect around that. That's just kind of my personal feelings on that. So you have the people that think that they're even more involved in that. And then you have other people that think, no, there's something else going on here. There was someone else. Either this was a crime of opportunity, that they noticed that the family was going off to these dinners and decided to snatch Madeleine for some reason, or this was even more planned, maybe more sinister than all of that. Despite what side of the fence that you're on in terms of those two beliefs, I believe that most of us would agree that what's going on right now, particularly in the press around this case, it's reaching ridiculous levels. I think it is letting us down as human beings to be doing what is being done to this case. And I'm even kind of questioning if I should even review some of this information with you guys. The fact of the matter is there's other publications that are putting this info out there. So I'm going to cover some aspects of it with you. I am going to disable monetization for this video because I don't want any of you thinking that I am trying to do anything to capitalize on what's going on around the 10-year anniversary. I do think it's important to note anniversaries like this. Quite typically, that attention can be used to raise exposure to these cases and bring it to people that might not be aware of it. It's a very important step to note anniversaries like this. But what I see going on with media around this is not in that effort. It's kind of disgusting in one way, at least in my perspective. So there's always kind of some news buzzing around this case, but it really started picking up a few weeks ago. And the first of those articles to come out was from The Sun. And I know some of you are critical about The Sun. I totally get that. I hear what you're saying there. At least the Sun is fair about citing their sources, which is usually other publications. But here we have an article where they're talking about a nanny that was working when Madeleine McCann disappeared, reveals what really happened, and claimed resort was so unsafe she was given a rape alarm. So certainly some interesting information here, and this is new information. I had not bumped into any statements from this nanny previously, especially along these lines. The woman told the Mirror, "We were told, here's a rape whistle. Don't go anywhere by yourself, ever. There'd been a girl attacked the year or so before in Praia de Luz." Outside of that, she also goes into some other detail, mostly about how Madeleine's parents were reacting once they realized that she was missing. And then she gives some personal insight into her beliefs that she doesn't think that the parents are really involved with the disappearance. Not a whole lot there to go on, but definitely some additional information in terms of what was happening in the area around that time, that there seemed to be risks that were already known, at least by staff around the area at that time. Did they make the people that were staying there aware of those risks? If her parents knew that there was things like this going on, would they have really left the children sleeping alone in the room that night? I'm not certain. So you might have some elements of the place where they were staying having some responsibility of letting people know about these types of risks, but I don't believe that they did. Then we had this information kick out last week, April 21st, 2017, Maddie breakthrough. Madeleine McCann lead discovered by Aussie film crew who will reveal new evidence this weekend. So apparently they were making a documentary on this case. They were so excited about their new lead that they decided to contact the publications, who then ran with that information and went and posted these largely useless articles that, of course, do not include the information that the documentary is saying it's going to release. Maybe if you are looking at this in terms of raising exposure to the case, maybe there's something to these articles that are helpful at that level a little bit. But, I always look at these things and just kind of question, what is the motivation for an article like this? Sure, it's retelling the events. I'm pretty sure that you wrote that article already several times before. That's something that kind of frequently happens with missing persons cases, is the actual story of them going missing and the things that happen around and after that story will be retold by certain publications over and over and over. And for raising exposure, sure, that's fine. For helping solve the case, I always go to the ends of the articles and look for where's the contact information for authorities. And of course, there isn't any on this article, but if you do have a story for their team, you've got an email address and a phone number. I'm sorry, guys. I know I'm probably feeling like I'm a little sour on this topic. I was just expecting, when I was looking into this information today, that I was going to find something that was really worth sharing with you guys, that was going to give some new insight into what truly could have happened. And instead, I feel like we've got a bunch of storytellers and people trying to sell books. But let's jump over to the Independent. Now, here's a perfect example of what I was just talking about. Madeleine McCann was brought to caves near apartment after kidnapping, Investigator says. A Portuguese investigator has suggested that Madeleine McCann may have been taken to caves nearby after her kidnapping and that the caves have never been searched. Well, hold on a second. You're a Portuguese investigator, so you're obviously in the area. You have this theory that there are caves nearby where she could have been taken to. Possibly her body is hidden. This is one of the most unfortunately famous cases, at least in UK history, if not worldwide. This is a case that pretty much everybody that knows about missing people knows about Maddie. And you don't take the time to go look at those caves, but you're going to talk about it in an article. According to the Sunday Mirror, he came up with this conclusion after putting himself in the shoes of the kidnapper on his first visit to the Ocean Club apartments where the McCann family stayed. Quote, "I put myself in the role of someone who knew nothing about the streets or the region. Where would I put the body of a girl? I stood at the apartment door. To the right is the town of Portimao, Hope I'm saying that right. There are lots of people there, lots of buildings. If I kidnapped her, that's not the way I'd want to go. I'd want to go left and find the first side road, he told the newspaper. Based on what conditions? What is this dude talking about? You're assuming that you know first of all, the MO of the person that kidnapped her, the reason for them kidnapping her, and we don't know that. You have no idea. He could have had a car. It might have not been a big deal for him to drive through town. He could have put her in a trunk or something along those lines and avoided any issues like that. But even outside of all that, what type of kidnapping is this? If you are looking at the potential that this is some type of trafficking issue, really, he's going to take her to caves somewhere, and then what? Figure out how he's going to move her later, where he's likely going to have to take her to another area where there is going to be other people around. Just the logic behind this statement, as it's presented here in this article, completely baffles me. He said, and quite honestly, guys, I don't even want to put his name in here. He said that the world has heard theories so stupid over the past 10 years, and that when people don't understand something, they complicate it. Quote, I think sometimes, always, the best solution is the simple solution, he added. I can tell you, if that was true, a lot more of these cases that I look into all the time here on this channel would be solved. And I know that there's a lot of people that like to believe in Occam's razor. I was giving you the different pronunciation there. Occam's razor. Sure, it's a belief about logic. Sure, it applies if you're talking about potentially fixing your car or some type of logical electrical problem. It does not always account for humanity and what motivates and drives people. And until you understand those motivations, for you to come to any conclusions about if the guy would have turned left to the caves or turned right to the town is extremely shallow and doesn't hold a whole lot of salt with me personally. Now, luckily, at least according to this article, I don't believe that this guy is writing a book. Perhaps he is, and the article just isn't mentioning it. I have seen that happen on a few of these articles, but let's move on to the next theory that all started. I'm telling you, over the last week has just been an explosion of these theories. Madeleine McCann was snatched for rich family, says ex-cop, as tourist tells of seeing, quote, identical girl in Morocco. Madeleine McCann may have been snatched to order by slave traders and sold to a rich family, detectives fear. So hold on for a second. We're going to now go on a theory that a rich family contacts criminals and says, we are specifically looking for a 4-year-old blonde girl. And we want her to have English upbringing or at least have a English accent. And we want you to find that in Portugal. Really? Really? That would be the most convenient way for someone to put it in order and for some person to effectively fill that order by looking at a vacation place in Portugal. I'm sorry. I just don't feel that one. They say she could have been smuggled by ferry into Africa after going missing in Portugal. Now here, there's some information around that could certainly be possible. The news came out as it was revealed a girl, quote, identical to Madeleine was seen on a key trafficking route in Morocco, looking sad and asking the man with her, can we see mummy soon? Now, there's something about Madeleine that is extremely unique. And I'm going to jump back here to the first article so you guys can see it with me. Look at her right eye. The colorization of her eye, she has what is effectively kind of a dark brown spot that kicks right off of the pupil of her eye, and it gives her right eye almost what I consider like a keyhole look. That is very, very unique. I think it would be pretty rare to find another girl, fair complexioned, blonde hair, with specifically her right eye having a pupil shaped like a keyhole. But the information that we get isn't very clear about this sighting, isn't clear about the person who thinks that this little girl looked identical to Madeleine. And there's something about the psyche in that you have to consider also. People get invested in these abductions or these missing persons cases, and we want to be part of what solves it. All of us do. At least I know all of you brain scratchers out there do, and that's a big part of why I'm trying to do what I'm doing here. And there's this thing I always talk about, confirmation bias, but you have to watch for yourself when you're in certain situations where you go, hey, that looks just like, isn't that the person? And you could be right, but you have to be sure to remember to be critical. How can I prove to myself that that person I'm seeing is actually the person? Could I bring it up on my phone? Could I see a picture of them right now and compare it to that person? Can I get a better sense of who that person is, or possibly how old they are, or what are they doing? What are they doing in this location? Do they work here? There has to be some type of critical thought that comes into play at these sightings, and I'm not very confident that that is always the case. I think that a lot of people would initially get somewhat excited about the possibility that maybe they saw Madeleine somewhere, and of course, here you go with that information being spread all over several news publications, and there is some resulting attention that comes from that. So you always have to take that stuff with a bit of a grain of salt in my experience. But it is interesting to me to talk about this path that could have been taken to potentially, if you were going to abduct someone, to get him out of the country quickly. Kidnappers could have smuggled Madeleine from Praia da Luz into North Africa in just 5 hours using the ferry. Portuguese police failed to seal the border with Spain just an hour from the resort in the hours after she vanished. I do think that there is some helpful information coming out of this potential theory, but this theory is being kicked around by someone who is writing a book, and we can get some more information. Here's a picture of him, but we can get some more information here at dailymail.co.uk. And a former Scotland Yard detective believes he has come up with the 5 most plausible theories to explain the disappearance of Madeleine McCann. Murder detective Colin Sutton said a trafficking gang could have snatched her to replace a dead child, or she could have been snatched by a pedophile. But he theorized the most likely and credible scenario for Maddie's disappearance was a targeted kidnapping. Once again, I don't know how people get caught on theories like this. If you were looking for a light complexioned, blonde-haired 4-year-old child, you could go to other places all around the world where it would be way easier to find one, and then find those special conditions where it looks like it's easy to abduct them. You have certain levels of security that were happening at the hotel. Admittedly, it doesn't seem like they were the tightest that they could be. But you have certain conditions at that hotel that, maybe you could have watched and seen that Madeleine's family was going to this bar night after night after night. But what if they didn't on that last one? Then your whole plan would have been scrapped. Was there another little blonde girl that you were eyeing that could have replaced her or something? The planning of this, for me personally, seems fairly confined. If it is planned like that, I would believe it was someone that is either close to the location where they were staying, or possibly worked at the location that they were staying, noticed this trend that was going on, and then took advantage of that opportunity. To think that someone possibly in another country placed an order for this girl, and this is how the order was filled, it's too much of a stretch for me. I'm personally just having trouble with it. Outside of that, I was going to knock this article because it's talking about this dude's 5 theories, and really we only hear about those 2 theories, which in essence could be the same single theory. It's just, was she taken to a family, or was she taken to or by a pedophile? But in either case, it is still a planned abduction. It doesn't really go into his other 3 theories, but it does mention, of course, he's got a book coming out, so you can read about those theories. And then we get to the guy I mentioned earlier, Gonzalo Amaral. And he has a new claim that also came out in this Australian documentary that aired over the weekend. He claims that MI5 hid Madeleine McCann's body in a cover-up after her parents killed her. Now, one of the criticisms about her parents is that they might have close ties to some government officials in the UK. Admittedly, it seems like they did. They were able to pull on some strings and to make some things happen in terms of the investigation. There has been a ton of money put into this investigation. But now, getting to this theory, what are we talking about? This would mean that the parents did something, had some type of connection to someone that works at an organization like MI5 for them to deploy someone to this other country to help take care of this body. How does this even fit into the time frame? You have the parents literally running around screaming, "Where's my kid? Where's my kid?" I guess you would have to put together some theory that they hid the body somewhere while they contacted MI5, and then later you had a secret person come out and move. I mean, why stop there? I mean, seriously, at this point, why don't we have a theory that James Bond and Bigfoot came along and abducted her together? This is so ridiculous to me. Now, could something like this happen? Sure. Let's talk about some information that points us towards that belief. Unfortunately, you're not going to get that information in this article. You're just going to get another theory by a guy who has already tried to make money on this case, not by solving it, but by just talking about it and talking about his theories about why originally, I believe he was all over the parents. And here we go again. He's back all over the parents. And let's keep in mind, these are two parties that have been suing each other back and forth over the past decade. There's no love lost between these two parties. So I don't know. And outside of that, you have the Sun even kind of poking or prodding this fire more by finding a source who is saying that Gonzalo is looking to squeeze every penny he can out of Madeleine's parents. And they say it very plainly down here. Let me find the quote for you guys. And this is an unnamed source. Let me just put that out there. But here's the quote. He has told friends he intends to do just that. He wants to squeeze every penny he possibly can out of them, clean them out. He has no shame at all. He doesn't believe they need the money to fund the search for Maddie, as he is certain they know what happened to her. He is looking to deplete the Maddie fund at a time when they need all the money they can get. On top of all that, Kate and Jerry will be asking to pay a large legal costs bill for their case that ended in defeat for them. Yeah, I saw the numbers he's talking about. He's talking about like 9,000 pounds or something like that. This was a couple that was pretty well off. Both had very good careers. I'm pretty sure them paying 9,000 pounds would certainly not be the end of the world. And it just, I don't know. This article in particular makes it seem like this dude is just coming from a very bad place. And it's more about hurting the parents at this point than being right. This guy had key information right from the start of this case and ultimately still could not solve it. And now that he's no longer doing that work, he's off writing books about it and trying to kick up these new theories and appearing on documentaries that are being produced by Australians on this case. What is going on here, guys? Seriously, media, what is happening in this case? This is insane. And then we get someone else that appeared in this documentary, a crime expert who told an explosive documentary that Kate and Jerry McCann could have hidden their daughter Madeleine's body, plans to sue the Aussie TV channel which ran the show. U.S. criminal profiler Pat Brown featured on Channel 7's Sunday night show, claiming the McCanns could have put Maddie's body in a bag, hid it at the beach, and moved it weeks later. Here is a picture of criminal profiler Pat Brown. And she's saying, the show purposefully set out to destroy my reputation. The only reason I was featured was to annihilate me by making me look foolish. I don't think it's just you that's looking foolish. I think everyone that is touching this case right now looks like an idiot. There are theories flying around that are unsubstantiated. I can't find source information for these people that are whipping these theories around. You've got ex-detective over here writing this book, ex-detective over there writing that book. This person wasn't even related to the case, but I reviewed everything, and now I have 5 theories, and you can read the book about it. Man, this is tough, guys. It's tough for me because I know that the stuff that I do in a way is similar to what some of these people are doing. I'm trying to investigate cases literally from sitting in my desk here. And I understand that sometimes your perspective of that could get altered because of how the media is conveying those messages. But here, just think of all this information that we covered today. What of that information is actually helpful to finding this little girl? Possibly the information from the nanny, and not even for finding the girl, but at least for possibly laying some blame at the location for not notifying people that were staying there of the risks of staying there. Possibly the information about the route that could have been taken to Morocco. 2 tiny pieces of information in pages and pages of evidence about people just largely being argumentative and defending their points with really no basis. It's unbelievable. And we're not even at the anniversary yet. We're ramping up to it. We've still got another week to go. And I fear what is going to come out of these publications. Seriously, things are crazy around this case right now. When's it going to stop? When's someone going to wake up and bring it back to the basics of the evidence that is actually known and get back to that point in the conversation? Yes, we're 10 years after the fact now. Where is the new information? Where is things that can point us in the right direction? Where is this little girl with the super unique eye that everyone apparently, there's sightings of her that have happened. I think I saw in an article somewhere where there's been like 9,000 sightings of this girl. Come on. And to these publications, come on, guys. Why even publish this? If these theories were told to me personally on a phone call, if someone called up and they're like, "Hey, John, I've got some info on the Maddie case. I have this guy that he's a detective, and he says that she was probably taken to the caves over to the left." I wouldn't even put that crap on YouTube. No, believe it. I wouldn't. But now we have full-on publications running with that, looking to sell papers, looking to sell clicks, looking to sell ads, all in the name of this missing little girl. Come on, guys. I'm sorry, just really, really disappointed in the coverage around this case. And if there is some helpful information in here, it's being buried by this other crap and this completely irresponsible reporting on this. It's a shame. And the truth is out there somewhere, just buried under a mound of conjecture and unfounded opinion. I don't know, guys. This case really, really hits me deeply. It's one of the earlier brain scratches. It's one of the ones that has always stuck with me, of course, with how big it is, how well known it is. It's not going away anytime soon. For me personally, I hope that girl is alive. I hope she's safe out there somewhere. It'd be nice to think that there was some rich family that had ordered her almost in this bizarre way, because at least then you'd know that she was being taken care of and being treated appropriately. But I don't know. I don't know where the truth is in this. If we look at her family, we have people that are criticizing her family because of expressions they make and comments they make and the way they look when they're being interviewed. That's not enough either. Somewhere in the wash of all this, the truth has been lost, and I'm starting to doubt that we're ever going to find it in this case, and it really, really breaks my heart because this little girl deserves better than that. And not just that, her siblings deserve better than that. You've got 2 other even younger children that were in the room that night that weren't taken, and if you don't think they're dealing with some kind of survivor's guilt, come on. They're going to be questioning their whole lives why Maddie was taken and they weren't. I don't know. So this is where I'm turning it over to you, brain scratchers. Let's talk about this in the comments. Let's please be respectful. This one's really hard. obviously, even for me right now, I've got tons of emotion attached to this, but just think twice as we're writing those posts and as we're hitting that submit button. Just make sure that we're being respectful to the memory of this little girl, the truth of what's going on in this case, and the other people that might not believe it the same way that you do. But I believe all of us are motivated in trying to find what happened to Maddie. At least we can all have common ground knowing that we want this thing solved. We want to understand it better. And at least my opinion on what I'm seeing with this media that's coming out lately, this is not helping the case in the slightest. This is nothing but noise and static. This is like adding to the haystack where you're looking for the needle. Like you've got the media just dropping load after load of hay on top of that, going, yeah, good luck. All right, everyone. I hope you guys have a great day. I hope this didn't bum you out too much. I'm sorry, but I just have to be honest with you guys when these cases hit me like this one did today. And there's just no other way for me to kick on the camera other than to know I'm going to shore up my feelings with you guys and know that it at least helps. I mean, I can tell you at the end of this video, I certainly feel much better than at the beginning. I hope you guys agree with me with my points about the media and how they're treating this. And maybe we can start letting them know about this. I don't know. Stop buying the Sun if you're in the UK, or start leaving comments on their message boards about what a joke this coverage is. There's got to be some way to help in this case, and what these guys are doing isn't it. Take care, everyone, and I will see you back here on the Lord and Arch channel.